everyone, I'm Noreen and welcome to my kitchen, and today we're going to be making a cranberry walnut orange conserve. It's a different kind of take on a homemade cranberry sauce, and this is one that I like to make for Thanksgiving. It's got a little bit more than just cranberries in it. It's got a lot of flavor, and the day after it's going to be fantastic spread on a turkey sandwich. So come on along and I'll show you how I make this. Over the ingredients. What I have in my pot here is two 14-ounce bags of cranberries. Now these I pulled out of my freezer. Some of you may have heard me talk about a few years back. After Easter, the local grocery store had put their fresh cranberries on clearance. Now cranberries, if they're kept in cold storage, will remain fresh for a very long time. They were selling these for $0.05 a bag, and I think my coworker and I ended up buying, I think 150 bags or something. I ended up with 80 bags of them. So that's what this is. 2 bags of fresh or frozen cranberries, your choice. These are thawed. They've been out since yesterday. I've got 2 cups of cranberry juice. I have 2 apples that I have chopped, and that's about 2 cups. And I left the skins on. These are organic apples that I scrubbed and I chopped. And then about a small orange that I cut up. This is about a cup worth of orange, and I left the skin on. Again, organic, scrubbed, chopped up fine. This is going to add to all this delicious flavor. Also, we're going to put, we're also going to add an extra cup of water, which I don't have out here, but this is a cup of dried cranberries, and these I have had vacuum sealed in a mason jar, so they look a little bit drier than what you find in the bag because I really crammed them in a 2-quart jar. So they've been in there for a while, but still they're good nonetheless. I have about a cup of walnut halves and a cup of white sugar and a cup of packed brown sugar, and the super top secret ingredient, a ½ teaspoon of allspice. So all we're going to do is we're going to move this over to the stove and we're going to start assembling this cranberry orange walnut conserve. Okay, all we're going to do now is we're going to start assembling. I like to just put all these things in the pot together and give them a stir. And as I go, I'm going to give it a stir because we want to get this evenly distributed the best that we can. And sometimes once we get everything in there, my husband will probably say you need a bigger pot, but you really don't. It smells amazing already. In with these cranberries. Now, the dried cranberries are something I started putting in my cranberry sauce, and I love the whole berry sauce. I don't really care for the cranberry jelly unless I make it myself, and then it's not really like the stuff in the can from the grocery store. That you can see how I did in my canning cranberry sauce video. I'll put a link to that in the underbar there. In with the walnuts. And I'm not going to chop the walnuts. I'm going to leave them whole because they're going to break up as this cooks, and it's going to distribute kind of a little bit better. You want everything in here to be recognizable. When you look at it, when you serve it, it's going to look like a bowl full of jewels. And it's going to be absolutely beautiful on your Thanksgiving table. All right, now for the good stuff, let's go ahead and put in our allspice. And of course, if you don't want to put walnuts or oranges or whatever, leave them out for yours. Create your own concoction. There's our cup of white sugar, our cup of brown sugar. This is going to cook down a bit, so don't worry that my pot looks like it may be too small, because it's not. I've done this enough to know. Cranberries cook down a lot. If you've never cooked cranberries before, you'll see that once you experience this. Oh my goodness! If this is one of those times where I wish you could smell it, because it smells like Christmas. We're going to put in our 2 cups of, this is all natural, no sugar added cranberry sauce, and a cup of water. And you can see that 3 cups is plenty. Give this a good stir. And now we're going to put it on medium heat, and we're going to let this come to a simmer. When that happens, I'll come back and I'll show you how we determine if it's ready to set to the side yet. Okay, my mixture has come to a boil, and at this point, if you're using fresh cranberries, mine are previously frozen, but they were fresh. Some of them are softened up already, so they're probably not going to pop, but some of them are kind of hard, like this one. Once the cranberries are going to start to pop once they get hot enough, and they're going to start to sing. And when you can hear that, that's when you want to go back to the stove if you've kind of stepped away. Because cranberry sauce, when you're cooking it, if you leave it on a higher flame, it does have a tendency to boil over. And because cranberry sauce has a ton of pectin, cranberries have a ton of natural pectin in them, it's kind of difficult to clean up. Plus cranberry stain, and it's just a big mess. So you kind of want to babysit when you're making cranberry sauce from scratch. Not that it's that big of a deal, but it does make a big difference in the end. Now you can see that these cranberries are starting to slump, and then also the dried cranberries are starting to rehydrate inside of all of that liquid. Now the apples and the oranges and the cranberries themselves have also released liquid from, you know, their juices into the pot, and you're going to think this is really kind of thin. Now just keep going, and you can see how these cranberries are kind of they're shrinking, so they're very soft. And what I like to do, I don't want this to be completely mashed, but I'll just take my spoon and kind of stir it and run it up against the side. And just keep stirring. And you're going to want to do this until the majority of these cranberries are no longer whole, or they have kind of softened or popped. See, you can hear it when I press. I'm impatient, so I'm notorious for doing this. But because my cranberries were previously frozen, some of them may not pop like an audible pop. They're going to kind of split open. And you can already see it's starting to thicken. And as this cools on the back of the stove, we're just going to take it off of the heat in just a minute. Now we're not trying to cook the apple until it's like applesauce. We just want to cook the cranberries until the cranberries... See, that one popped. Well, I helped it, but come on. I'm trying to help them understand. We want the apples to still have a little bit of crunch left. And that's the secret here. Also, we're kind of cooking the walnuts as well, and those are going to lend their own specific flavor and taste into this. You don't like walnuts? Leave them out. Throw pecans. You don't like nuts at all? Leave them out. It's not going to hurt my feelings. In the end, what you can do, if you'd rather, you can just wait till it's cooked and add some slivered almonds to the top of it for presentation. But like I said, at this point, you want to babysit it because it can tend to boil over, and that is not a mess I want any of you to have to clean up because, trust me, no fun. Been there, done that. Get it inside your burner cage tray down here. It's horrible. It's just horrible. So
couldn't you just lay your wooden spoon across the pot to keep that from happening?
That's actually an old wives' tale. That really doesn't work. No? It'll just boil right over that wooden spoon, and then you've got a mess of a wooden spoon that you have to pick up, and it's hot, and yeah, not great. And when you splash like this, like I just did, try and wipe it up as quick as you can, simply because once this dries on there, it's almost, this is really difficult to clean up. Now, I can see that this is really starting to boil furiously. It's starting to thicken. It's becoming very dark. And I can feel when I stir, and I can see the majority of these berries have kind of slumped out, and they've kind of deflated a bit. This is exactly where we want it. The apples are not mushy yet, and that's where we want it. Now, what we're going to do, can you see the difference in the color? because it's much darker than it was before, because the cranberries have rendered a good portion of their juice and their color. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just turn off the heat. Give this another good stir. I'm going to leave my spoon in it. Martha would be disappointed. And I'm going to put my lid right there. We're going to walk away from this. If you make this the night before Thanksgiving, oftentimes what I will do is just leave this on the back of the stove. And in the morning when I come down, I'll give this a stir and it will be perfect. And then I can just put it in the fridge in the serving dish I intend to use. And it's all good. This is something you can make several days up to a week in advance. The flavors are only going to get better. You're going to want, once this is completely cooled, you're going to want to store this in the fridge. Just put it in a mason jar. I've made enough here. This recipe is 2 bags, 2 cups, a cup of cranberries, a cup of walnuts, 3 cups of liquid. So you've made at least 7 cups here of cranberry sauce. You can put it in several jars, and you can water bath it if you like, or you can just keep it in your fridge and give it out as favors to your Thanksgiving guests and tell them to refrigerate it as soon as they get home. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to let this naturally cool and come to room temperature, and later in the day I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what this looks like when it's all ready to serve up at your Thanksgiving table. Okay. It is several hours later, and this is still ever so slightly warm, but it's fine. If I were serving it today, I would just go for it. This is going to be a lovely accompaniment to roasted meats, any kind of roasted meats, turkey, beef, venison of any sort, wild game, whatever you have. This would be great with duck. I love duck, and this would be perfect accompaniment for duck. Now, you can see how much this is thickened up. It's not like a jelly, but it's nice and thick. And you can see when you put it in a pretty dish to serve it, it's going to be lovely on your table. So, there you have it. Homemade cranberry, orange, walnut conserve. Perfect for your Thanksgiving table. I hope that you try it. I hope that you love it. And until next time, I'll see ya.